iTunes. Throughout her career, the self-taught guitarist was honored with 17 SA Music Awards, 3 Metro FM Awards, and a Nigeria Entertainment Award. Following the news of her passing, social media platforms have been flooded with messages of condolences as fans and admirers express their shock and deep sadness. Prabashni Mudli, SABC News, Johannesburg.
And finally, U.S. State Department says Israel can do more to protect Palestinian lives in Gaza. Department spokesperson Bethaniel Tex says clear instructions were needed to allow people to move away from the conflict, though he said Hamas too had a responsibility to protect civilians.
We believe it is critical that Israel places a premium on the protection of human life and the ability for humanitarian aid organizations to access civilians. We have seen Israel engage in notifications of civilians, telling them where they can go and the establishment of deconfliction zones. But as the Secretary said, there certainly is more that can be done and more precise and clear directions that can be given to civilians to ensure that they can reach safety and that those safe locations can in fact be equipped to support the influx of civilians.
Recapping your top story, Gold One Mine says disciplinary action will be taken against mine workers found guilty of misconduct. This comes after miners staged a sit-in for several days in protest of the dismissal of 50 workers following a labor dispute in October. For SAfm News, I am Luyanda Maume. Headlines at 9:30.
SAfm 104 to 107 nationwide, leading the conversation.
SAfm is sharing the festive spirit by giving away 5,000 Rand to 10 lucky winners. To enter, SMS SAfm Festive, followed by your name and what the festive season means to you to 41391. And you could win. Tune in to SAfm throughout December and we could be calling you. SMSs are charged at R1.50. Free SMSs, free minutes and SMS bundles do not apply. Terms and conditions apply. Visit safm.co.za for more information.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
My mom used to tell me, Uguti, I started singing when I was 6 and I became a leader of a Sunday school when I was 6 and the senior choir when I was 9, and when I was 13, they made me a leader of a worship team because I was very shy. And then I didn't want to be a school choir because there are a lot of people there, and at some point I was thinking, ish, they can't sing. Can't I tell them, no, this is not the key, this is not the alto, even though I never went to school for it. Then I ran away from the school choir. You know how teachers are. They're going to go dig you from home. And then after that, there's a song I wrote, which is Destiny. And at that time, it's when I passed my matric. And then my parents, they didn't have money to take me to tertiary. But because there was something in me that was telling me, my story has to be told. So I knew I was born for something. And actually now it's funny, but back then when I was a kid, I used to cry. Because next door, they used to say, "Hi, voice, and my teachers, they used to beat me because I didn't want to be a choir. But guess what? Me running away from the choir, I became Zahara. But from your teaching, thank you so much.
Senda andiyacela ndiphathize ulole isandla sakho andifuna ufana nabanikezela yanisenda ngincanyelwe lixesha ubomi buyandixesha ndiyakubeka ndifuna ukubakama ndifuna ukubaleka umthwalo wam uyanisinda andiyacela ndiphathise ulule isandla sakho andifuna ukufana nabanikezela uyanisinda uyanisinda emhlabeni kugcwele zizinto ezinhle nezimbi hliziyo yamba inxalile emhlabeni kugcwele zizinto ezinhle nezimbi hliziyo yamba inxalile mthwalo wam uyanisinda andiyacela ndiphathise ulule isandla sakho andifuna ukufana nabanikezela uyanisinda mthwalo wam uyanisinda andiyacela ndiphathise ulule isandla sakho andifuna ukufana nabanikezela uyanisinda mna andifuna uzika mna andifuna ukweyiswa mna andifuna uzika mna andifuna ukweyiswa umthwalo wam uyanisinda andiyacela ndiphathise ulule isandla sakho andifuna ukufana nabanikezela yanisinda uyandisinda uyandisinda yandisinda yandisinda
Good morning, Cathy and SA listeners. Cathy, it's very sad to hear the passing of Zahara. I never believed it when I saw it on Facebook last night, and I thought it's just one of those foolish posts. And it's so sad. But I want to say to the Zahara's family, they must just stay strong, and this shall pass as well. This is Luzuko from Cape Town. Rest in peace, Zahara.
Morning, Cathy. This type of Fontaine. Playing this song reminds me of 2011. Cathy, I was going through tough time. Just lost my employment, expecting twins. It was a tough time for me. I used to play this song over and over again. just to lift my mood. Thank you for playing this song, Cathy. It means a lot to me. And rest in peace to Zahara. Condolences to his family, to her family, in fact, and all music fraternity.
Good morning, Cathy. Good morning to my fellow listeners. Oh, Cathy, what a sad moment. Zahara is gone. Oh, yes. Young as she was, Kathy, but her music, man, surpassed the ages, man. Yeah, inspiring and soothing, man. What can we say, Kathy? It's part of life. To Zahara, we say thank you for your music. Thanks God for your life. And to everyone, I think Zahara's life shows that everything's possible, man, if you put your effort and your concentration too. Rest in peace, Zahara. Thank you. Mafuta here.
SAfm values your views. Be an active citizen.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAfm.
Oh, what an incredibly sad way to kick off the show this morning. Welcome to The Talking Point, reflecting on the life of Bulelwa Nkutukana, who we all knew as Zahara. It means flower in Arabic, and we really have been blessed by her music. I think she had a way of just touching our hearts. Her music just spoke directly to so many of our hearts. A young life really lost. 35 years old is the age at which Zahara passed away last night at a Johannesburg hospital. So we'll take some of your tributes for her, and many of you will know the ups and downs that she's had in the music industry, but literally being discovered as a young woman from the Eastern Cape and hitting the national and international stage, and found a way to make South Africans and everybody on the continent love her dearly. So condolences to Zahara's family, Zahara's close friends. South Africa will miss her voice, absolutely. So much more than that I think many of us were still looking forward to in terms of her music. So a different way to start off the show, but I hope you're not complaining. Welcome to The Talking Point. I'm Cathy Mohlahlana. It's a pleasure to have you with us this morning. Coming up on the show today, we'll kick it off as always with the open line. It's your national roundtable. I'll take your calls 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, we'll take those voice notes on 0614 104 107. Coming up in the second hour of the show, we're going to be focusing on livestock theft. And, some of the reports that we've been seeing, the analysis around livestock theft actually points to an increase in this kind of theft that is taking place across the country. So we'll zoom in just on what is driving livestock theft and why it is that it seems it's so difficult to get a handle on, right? Often, some of the stories that those who farm cattle will tell is that, they'll go to bed one night, they wake up in the morning, their livestock is gone. Somebody has helped themselves to it overnight. And being able to track it down is difficult. The investigations by the police often lead to naught. And so people take up matters into their own hands. And they take it upon themselves to try and redeem their stock. You can understand why so much value actually is invested in livestock. So we'll have that conversation in the second hour of the show. And then we'll wrap it up with looking at the continent and really revisiting the coups that we have seen in West Africa going into the festive season and early January. What then can we anticipate in the new year for the continent? And I don't know if I can say that, are we at a point where we are on the other side of the cycle of these coups? Because we have had quite a number of them over the last 18 to 24 months. But can we positively say that there is some kind of stability elsewhere on the continent, that we don't anticipate any further coups in the next at least 12 months? So Nixon Katembu will be joining me for that particular conversation. So that's what you can expect coming up on the open line over the next 3 hours. As always, I'm taking your calls 086 000 2032. You're more than welcome to raise any matter of national importance that you want to put on the agenda. I know we kicked it off with Zahara, but just a moment for us to recognize her life and pay tribute to the beautiful music that she's given us. You don't have to keep to that theme. You know it is your national roundtable. I'll take a break. I'm back with more of your calls after this.
Botswana qualified for the BNP Group Africa Cup Finals 2023 with an unbeaten record in the qualifiers and became winners of the Southern African Cup in May, while Malawi finished runners-up by winning 2 of their 4 games, whereas Mozambique also qualified for the BNP Group Africa Cup Finals in a spectacular manner, pipping Eswatini and Mauritius on net run rate in the Southern African Cup. Witness the thrilling action from 11 to 19 December, live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAfm.
All right, so I'll kick it off in KZN this morning. Our first caller for the morning, Dr. Bongani Ngumalo. Dr. Ngumalo, good morning to you. Thank you for your time.
Cathy, good morning.
Yes.
It's been some time, eh?
Yes, it has been a while. I think we last spoke to you earlier on this year, if memory serves correct.
Somewhere along there. It's a pity that the lady has passed on. Condolences to the family. My contribution is with regards to what needs to be done going forward. Us as a nation, us as people that are also in the same race that Zahara has been going through. We're told that she died from complications of liver disease.
Yeah.
And many people in this case have got fatty liver disease.
They have got what, Dr. Ngumalo?
You know what? It's essentially died from is fatty liver disease.
Oh, fatty liver disease. Okay, all right, okay.
Fatty, F-A-T-T-Y.
Yes, all right.
You know, the reason is not because of fat. It's because of what we eat. You know, the sugars that we eat. The white rice that we eat, the bread that we eat, the rolls that we eat. The kind of chicken, the lamb tutus that we eat. These are all the causes of fatty liver disease. Of course, including alcohol. But, you know, the dangers that are posed by alcohol are far lesser than the dangers that are posed by what we eat in terms of sugar, in terms of soft drinks, in terms of oroses, in terms of white rice, in terms of rolls, in terms of chicken, as I've referred to. These are the main causes of fatty liver disease that many people can die from. It's a pity that it doesn't happen immediately when you develop this fat, you know, around the liver. And one of the main causes of this thing is also eating after 7. You know, when you eat after 7, you know, the body by that time is resting. So sort of the kind of food that you are eating is piling up on your liver and end up with fatty liver disease. The other strange thing that is causing this, that will surprise many people, is the toothpaste that we're using. You know, the Colgate, the Close Up, the whatever, all those things are mainly because of this thing. In the sense that, you know, the research now, this is latest research. The latest research now says that we should move away from using toothpaste to wash our teeth. We should rather use ash, you know, the ash that comes from wood. That is the safest thing that we can do. But people are so embedded in this thing. They are so believing that, you know, if I use this, you know, my teeth are going to be dirty, whatever it is. But in the end, these are the things that are causing disease that are killing our people on a daily basis. In some of the first world countries, liver operations, the surgery to the liver, it's one of the leading practices that are being done because of fatty liver disease, because of the kind of food that we eat.
And
in
terms of liver transplants, Dr. Ncumalo, given how prevalent you say the disease is in a country like South Africa, are those as prevalent as the disease? So do you find that a lot of people are able to get liver transplants?
Well, it's difficult to get a liver transplant. It's difficult because of the immunity problem. Many people that go through this, they don't make it because of many complications that come with liver transplant. What it needs to be done, is prevention. That's the only thing as far as we can go anywhere and say whatever you want to say, but in the end, it's about prevention. It's about preventing. It's about you cooking food, moving away from all these highly processed foods, moving away from all the juices, 100% juices. And that's what I'm referring. All these things are cooked up as if they are good things, but in the end, they are killing us. And that's what we need to do. That's what we've got to take a step towards as a nation.
All right. So having healthier diets and the role of alcohol, Dr. Ncumalo?
The role is alcohol, yes. Before, when I went to medical school, we were told that the main cause of fatty liver disease was alcohol. It is still true, very true. But then sugar is the more severe cause of fatty liver disease, more than alcohol. The kind of dangers that are done by sugar are higher. Higher than what alcohol does. When a person comes up and says to you, the way to say this, abakholwa sithi uNkulunkulu umsizile wangikhipha etshwaleni, but uNkulunkulu can never take you from alcohol and take you back to what is more dangerous than alcohol itself. Alcohol is bad. It is bad. It does expose you to fatty liver disease, but the sugars are worse off.
All right.
The Coca-Colas, I'm supposed to mention that, but all these fizzy drinks, all these sugar juices, everything, including toothpaste, colleagues, it is killing us. And the sooner we get there into eradicating the use of these things, the better.
All right, Dr. Ncumalo, thanks for calling in. Dr. Bongani Ncumalo, he's based in KZN and really using the opportunity, as you heard there, to try and call all of us to question our lifestyle choices, especially dietary choices. And that's because we know that Zahara, as far back as 2019, had been diagnosed with liver disease. Even at the time, she had been hospitalized. I think she stayed in hospital for about a month. And of course, she was warned at the time that if she continued drinking, she was going to face the risk of dying, and because her liver disease had been worsened by her battle with alcohol. So, these are some of the realities that I think we cannot run away from, right? That we also need to be responsible for our health, for our bodies. And it's just unfortunate because I think there was so much else that was going on in her life. That sometimes, Dr. Ncumalo, is not that we don't want to stop eating chocolate or we don't want to stop drinking the fizzy drinks, right? But the mental state that we are in perhaps doesn't give us that opportunity. And so people are emotionally eating, they're battling all sorts of other things that are driving them to drink, that are driving them to even abuse all sorts of other substances. So, it's easy to sort of give a diagnosis as a doctor, but at the same time, I think these, we're real people who are experiencing real problems. And as long as we're not given the tools to deal with those, then unfortunately, these are going to be some of the things that we have to face as part of our lives. Well, it's 9:30, time for the latest news headlines. I'm back with more of your calls after this.
Good morning, Cathy. In your headlines, the IFP National Policy Conference is due to get underway in Empangeni on the north coast of KwaZulu-Natal today. This comes as the party is gearing up to launch its 2024 election manifesto. Cold One Mine says disciplinary action will be taken against mine workers found guilty of misconduct. This comes after miners staged a sit-in for several days in protest of dismissal of 50 workers following a labor dispute in October. And the SABC board and executives are expected to appear before Parliament's Communications Committee this morning. The board is expected to present its updated corporate plan. I'll have details on this and other stories at 10.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
The richest place on earth is the cemetery. Buried there are unopposed bestsellers and chart-busting genius materials, leaders and daughters alike. That's what Mzwakambuli once wrote. Cathy, I was shocked and petrified this morning around midnight when your colleague Oliver Dixon broke the passing of Zahara. 5 minutes later, I turned to Mhlobo Wenene to listen to other colleague, Spiwo Magoda, and he broke the news also. I was numb. Now this morning, you are starting with the song that is in my heart. Cathy, let her rest in peace. She played her pivotal role. She made us to be happy every time she would take that mic. Rest in peace, Zahara. Thank you. Butingonke from Indo in the Eastern Cape.
Morning, Cathy. I was just so shocked and saddened by the news that Zahara has passed away. I'm just also disappointed that the media keeps reporting that she died in a Johannesburg hospital. They can't even give a decent report to say such and such a hospital in Johannesburg. And I feel her management in music and her family somehow failed her. She didn't get the support that she should have, received. It's Tebu here. Thanks, bye.
Hi, Cathy. I wouldn't advise to steal livestock, especially if you need the livestock, the cows, to pay for Lobola. Because just in case somebody steal your livestock, steal your wife. So they mustn't do that. Please tell our brothers not to do that. I know they want to get married, but rather by the sweat and your hard labors, buy your own livestock so you can have your wife for life. Thanks, Kelsey. Vince, Cape Town.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAfm. Cathy Mohlahlana on SAfm.
All right, Vince, I must admit, I didn't see that one coming. If you steal livestock, they'll steal your wife. I don't know, do people steal livestock so that they can go use it for lobola purposes? I don't think so. I mean, that would be quite extreme if I've even heard of an extreme example. But, of course, the experts will tell us more in the second hour of the show. But it would be quite peculiar if that is the case. Gift, you're in the Eastern Cape. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to your listeners. Look, Cathy, on behalf of the ANC in the province of the Eastern Cape, we are deeply saddened by the untimely passing of Zahara. As you know, that she's the daughter of the soil coming from our own province, the home of legends in Buffalo City. You will recall that Zahara in the past has performed at our events without any hesitation, using her melodious voice to re-energize our support base. And I must say, Cathy, that the performing arts industry is poor without Zahara. And on behalf of the ANC in the province, we dip our revolutionary banner in honor of this great daughter of the soil. And the ANC extends its deepest condolences to the family, friends, colleagues, and friends and fans of Zahara. May they find solace in knowing that their grief is shared by the entire nation and further afield. But I must indicate, Cathy, before I depart, that I just appeal to South Africans just to give space to the family, because the family is in mourning, the family is in grief. And all of us as South Africans, let's show empathy, let's show respect, let's show humanity, let's also show humility to the family and stop being doctors because the postmortem of Zahara has not yet been released. Thank you very much,
All right.
Cathy.
So Gift, just to double check, I'm speaking to Gift Ngondi, who's the regional spokesperson of the ANC in the Eastern Cape.
I'm the provincial head of communications of the
All
ANC
right.
in the province.
Okay, provincial head of communications. Well, I needed to verify that, Gift, because I was putting you on as just an ordinary caller, which you are. But now that you speak so confidently on behalf of the ANC, I have to start verifying your credentials, you know?
Thank you. Thank you.
I need to make sure that, we're not being taken for a ride. Have you as a party reached out to Zahara's family yet?
We have not yet reached out because this news just came in the early hours of this morning, although she passed away last night.
Yeah, you've
But
lost
we'll be
one of
reaching
your
out.
greatest exports, hey?
Yes, of course, and that's why we are so saddened in the province, because she's coming from the home of legends. She's the daughter of the soil.
Yeah. All right. Gift, we'll leave it there. Gift out in the Eastern Cape. But as you heard, he's also the provincial head of communications for the ANC in that province. So using the moment then to speak on behalf of his party. Khadi, you are in Mpumalanga. Good morning, Khadi.
Morning, Cathy. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Are you also going to surprise me and dip your revolutionary hat?
No.
All right.
Just a regular person.
Yeah. All right, Khadi, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah. No, I was inspired by the doctor's, comments, just reminding us and, what you had to add on our lifestyle choices with regards to what we eat, and, basically how we take care of ourselves, and just to, I don't know, I was feeling a bit overwhelmed because my brother also passed away of liver problems, but he was drinking a lot. But that's beside the point. I just wanted to call attention to the fact that with regards to our food, it has always been suggested that we eat as close to indigenous as possible. So, like, instead of the white maize meal, we should eat sorghum. And I have family in Limpopo, so we are already very good with brown pap, mabele, and that is the best form of food to eat because it is indigenous to South Africa. Maize meal was indigenous to South America and, of course, transported over the continent. So, I think our bodies, our DNA would respond to what was our original organic food. Chicken is from Portugal. The way we eat so much chicken in this country, it's unbelievable. It's not even food that is local to us. It was imported from Portugal. So I think sometimes we should just be aware of what we're eating and try to eat food that is indigenous, what people might call bush meat, if you're eating bush meat. If you're eating meat, which I don't eat a lot of, but if you do, try to stick to meats that what people call bush meat. Even though they might look down on it, but a lot of what is bush meat is indigenous meat. So just to remind us again, let's go for the tepe, morojo, the indigenous morojo, not the imported foods, and try to eat food that is seasonal, not food that has been imported where the seed has been grown or genetically manufactured somewhere else. Yes, Cathy?
So what I was saying is, Khadi, is that, it might not be indigenous, but, we eat organic.
Yeah, but the seed is not organic as in original. Because look at our fruits now. Grapes don't have seeds. I battle if I
Yeah, it's
buy
because it's
grapes and they
inconvenient. It's because it's inconvenient to choose seeds, Khadi.
No,
but
you
but
have
but the
to.
grapes are still organic, and the chicken is organic. Everything is organic. So I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, but it's been, don't take me down that route because now we're going to really open it up. It's not organic. It has been genetically modified.
Yeah.
At least, and the way we kill our animals, do we even consider that? At least with the Islamic community, that they talk of halal meat, which means I think the meat will have been prayed over. They only buy meat, and I've seen it when I go to the supermarket. If you look at the chicken, they will have that Islamic symbol to show that it's halal meat. Well, at least you can say there was some compassion shown, and the meat was probably prayed over.
Khadi, you're being unfair. There's chicken that comes and it says free-range chicken, which means that the chicken was allowed to run around,
But how was it killed? Did you pray for it? Did you ask for permission for it to be killed? Did you ask it permission that you can eat it? We don't ask Earth, we don't talk to the plants anymore like our original forebears used to, So everything is just instantaneous, chicken lick and nandos. Do you know how the food was killed? That animal that you're eating, how much did it suffer? But anyway, you know where I'm going, and I'm just feeling emotional because now I'm remembering my brother who passed away of liver.
Oh, Khadi.
Anyway,
I'm sorry
may they
for
all
your
rest
loss.
in peace.
Yeah, may
And
they all rest in
Zahara,
peace.
no,
Yeah.
they are in the heavens. They are all stars.
Yeah.
They've gone back to our origins. We are from the stars.
Yeah, and I know that I was just playing around with the issue of organic, but it really is a real thing. Sometimes you read the label on food and you ask yourself, what does this even mean? What do you mean this is organic? There's no way that this is organic, but it's a very clever marketing tool that I think we as consumers also need to start questioning a bit more and also being mindful of, because the reason why they say it's organic is to make us feel better about buying it,
And I was one of those that would feel better until I had to question myself more, because I grow a lot of vegetables and herbs, and I had to ask myself, if I have chickens in my yard and they're free range, at the end of it is I can't even kill it. So it becomes a pet in my yard. Then it means somebody else will have to kill it for me to eat it.
Yeah.
So, you get so sensitive, and that's how you know that intuitively your DNA, your body's already telling you something.
Okay.
So
all right,
why don't
Khadi.
we pay attention? Yeah, thank you.
All right, Khadi, we'll have to leave it there.
Bye.
Khadi's out
Bye.
in Mpumalanga. Yeah, certainly. Starting a different part of the conversation there. Khadi, you are, Mike, you're in Newlands. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Cathy.
Hi,
if you
Mike.
Can you hear me okay? There's a lot of noise here.
Yes, I can.
Okay, I just want to quickly touch on the fascinating interview you tried to have with the Department of Education on the food parcel scam. And it just reminded me, this is an old story. I remember many in the last election, the DA wrote and complained bitterly to Panyaza Lesotho about the fact that food parcels were being issued to ANC voters back then. I think this was in 2006. Obviously, Panyaza Lesotho never bothered to reply to the letter. Nothing was ever done. And I just felt completely naked. That's a horrible thought. Listening to you yesterday, because this guy from the Department of Education, who simply just insulted you and all the thousands of listeners by promising to come on the show and now just walking away, means that we are now totally, powerless to protect ourselves. He's got our money. He's buying food parcels to buy votes. I can go to my MP. My MP will tell me she'll write to the Premier Panyaza Lesotho and he'll do nothing. He did nothing about the 432 million. That's still gone missing. Nobody cares. There's nothing we can do. But you know what I'm finding, Cathy, overall, and it sort of occurs to me, and I'm talking to you now. The ANC actually just doesn't care anymore. That guy didn't pitch on your show. He doesn't care. There's going to be no repercussions for him. No consequences. Yesterday I was watching JJ Tabani's show, Truth to Power. the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, at the last minute, just didn't bother to pitch up. So he sits there in his show, completely annoyed, obviously, and he's without his top guest. I said, lucky enough for him, he had the DA, Mayor Pappas there, who had the whole show to himself for an hour, which was very lucky for the DA and for Pappas. But it just goes to show the ANC has just walked away. They are going to do whatever it takes, and our money, I promise you, Cathy, we are powerless. As I say, I feel absolutely naked because I know they're going to carry on with this food parcel. We're going to complain on the radio, and nothing is going to change. Absolutely nothing.
And that's probably one of the biggest problems with it, Mike, is that, you know, so many people have become used to things being done a certain way. So if you look at the responses that we receive from our listeners when having that conversation, people acknowledge that they see the same thing happening in their communities, but they've gotten to a point where they don't do anything about it. The reality is that if it's taxpayer money that is being used, there must be some level of accountability. And as long as we allow we allow rogue politicians, because that's what they are, rogue politicians, to do what they want to do and not be held accountable, then that means that we're comfortable with the situation being what it is. And we simply can't do that. So we're still going to keep asking, Mike. We're still going to keep asking for those documents. We're still going to keep asking to see the list of people that were supposed to receive those food parcels, and why it is that those that were on the list and, you know, were sought after, who were asked to give ID numbers, to ask what happened. You know, one can take it back. Remember the Freda Dairy Farm scandal? That's one of the things it reminded me of, because for those residents in the Free State, they gave out their ID numbers and details confident that they would be beneficiaries of this project. Some of them to date have still not seen any of the fruit of what they had been promised, but monies came out in their name. And that's something that we have to question when given the opportunity, of course.
No, of course, and Cathy, well, the thing is, that's right. And you know, it's ironic, isn't it? Because I often say, you are the Parliament of South Africa, your show, because you can write to any ANC MP you like. You will never get the courtesy of a reply. You can write to your own DA or IFP chairman, and he'll tell this MP, he'll tell you the same thing. He won't even get a reply. And you're the only person who does like this, but actually shame the ANC into action a little bit. But on a lighter side, in that particular case I mentioned earlier, where there were 5 DA councillors that complained to Panyaza Lesotho about the food parcels that were issued out, interestingly enough, in 3 of those wards, all 3 of those wards went over to the DA or IFP, but not the ANC that gave out the food parcels.
So much for that. So much for that, right? All right, Mike out to Newlands. We'll leave it there for this morning. Yeah, look, this problem is a big problem, because you just don't know how much money is actually leaving the coffers of departments in the name of assisting people, and yet those people never get that kind of support or assistance. It's not to say that these things or these projects should not happen. We absolutely need them, but that doesn't mean that we throw accountability out the window. I'll take a quick break. I'm back with more of your calls after this.
Get ready for an adventure of a lifetime with SABC TV Licenses Ultimate Competition. Feel the pulse-pounding excitement of a Bundesliga match live on an all-expenses-paid journey you'll never forget. Or embrace the rhythm of your dreams at the Coachella Music Festival. The choice is yours. A football fan's paradise or a music lover's haven. Simply pay your TV license, then head to www.winnerholidayWithSABCTVLicenses.co.za for a chance to win big. And don't forget, there are incredible weekly prizes up for grabs too. TV licenses. Pay yours. Make a difference.
Botswana qualified for the BNP Group Africa Cup Finals 2023 with an unbeaten record in the qualifiers and became winners of the Southern African Cup in May, while Malawi finished runners-up by winning 2 of their 4 games, whereas Mozambique also qualified for the BNP Group Africa Cup Finals in a spectacular manner, pipping Eswatini and Mauritius on net run rate in the Southern African Cup. Witness the thrilling action from 11 to 19 December, live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAfm is sharing the festive spirit by giving away 5,000 Rand to 10 lucky winners. To enter, SMS SAfm Festive, followed by your name and what the festive season means to you to 41391. And you could win. Tune in to SAfm throughout December and we could be calling you. SMSs are charged at R1.50. Free SMSs, free minutes and SMS bundles do not apply. Terms and conditions apply. Visit safm.co.za for more information.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, we continue the conversation on the Talking Point to Newcastle now. Thomas, good morning.
Hi, this is Cathy. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, Thomas.
I'm great, man. You know what? I actually was feeling a bit sad and a bit somewhat with the whole Sahara story. And it just occurred, as everyone is calling and we're saying our bit, maybe the best thing we should do as South Africans is just wish the family well and all that, and not put our value or our worth or what we think about what she should have done or not, because we really don't know what she was fighting and what she was dealing with. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's easy for us to say this, that, and the other. She shouldn't have drunk. She was told to stop drinking. You don't know what she was battling. So if you can't say anything that will comfort the family and friends, just let it go, you know, because he who feels the pinch of the shoe, that's the one who's feeling the most pain. I don't know.
Thomas, you know, you are so correct. Which is why I was saying earlier with Dr. Ngumalo that, you know, it's one thing for health practitioners to sort of give us the facts in black and white, but when you live life and you have to deal with everything that rests on your shoulders, sometimes you don't not do it because you don't want to do it, but there's so many other factors that come into play, and that context also matters, right? And it matters a great deal.
And you know, the unfortunate thing is we don't know that context. The lady that called and said the family and her men just failed her, you don't know what was going on. Do you know what I'm saying? And so don't state things factually when you don't know what's happening, because you're offending, you're causing pain, you're causing all sorts of things, you know. Just keep stuff to yourself. If you can't wish the family well and the friends and encourage them and encourage South Africa on this, just leave it, because you should have supported, because we all knew that Zahara had a problem. And now the lady who said we failed her, what did she do? Because now she can stand and throw stones. Did she do anything at all to help Zahara? Nothing. She's not even helping family. Sometimes you'll find that we are in our own families fighting our own battles, and you stand there and throw a stone. It's just not right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do better.
Look, Thomas, my understanding of what you were saying was around how her death was communicated. And that's mostly, you know, the fact that you had the Minister of Arts and Culture primarily be the one to confirm it, whereas perhaps there's an expectation that there would be a statement, you know, from her managers that would have very clearly communicated what has happened, so that messaging filters through even in the reporting. But I take the point that you make as well.
No, but at the same time, is there a protocol of how to do these things? We just do the best we can do with what is got.
Yeah.
Maybe as South Africans, we've gotten used to this idea of we have a right to comment about any and everything that's happening. And sometimes we just come and just blow hot air, you know what I'm saying, and offend more than anything.
Okay.
Sometimes let's just learn to live and let live.
Okay. All right. Thomas out in Newcastle. We'll leave it there for this morning. Anonymous, you're in KwaDuguza. Good morning.
Morning, Sis.
Okay. Well, KZN is very busy this morning. You're all on the phone. But I'm not complaining. Good morning, Anonymous.
Morning, Sis. Sis, I have a problem here with Umfolozi Civics College, especially the one called Chief Alpetletulus campus. I went there to study public management. Then they told me that I must go and do in-service training, and I went to do in-service training at Squatuza municipality. Right now, I'm at Squatuza municipality. But when I'm applying for my diploma, it's still declining. Now it's almost 2 years now. My diploma is not coming back.
And just to double check, Anonymous, is it a state-owned and run institution, or is it a private institution?
Follows.
Yeah.
It's I think it's a public. Cause
is it a public institution?
Yes, because we're using NSFAS there.
Okay. And are you the only one affected by this, or do you know of other colleagues that are also affected?
There are many.
Okay. And you've been waiting for the printout for how long?
For 2 years now.
For 2 years, yeah. Well, that absolutely doesn't make sense. And you're sure you completed all of your models, hey? You've checked. You have all the points you needed to get for your diploma.
I have my N6 even right now on my hand, and I'm doing in-service training at the right place because I was studying public management.
Okay.
So I must go maybe work in any public institution. Like right now, I'm in Guatuza municipality.
Okay. All right. Okay, Anonymous, let me put you back to level, and let's see if we can ask some questions with the institution and hear then what the story might be. We'll have to see what we find and give feedback to you and the rest of our listeners perhaps later this week. I wonder if they're still opened given the time of the year. But Anonymous, thanks for calling in. We'll see what we can do about it, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Let me take KG in Bloom as the final caller for the open line this morning. KG?
Thank you very much for taking my call, Cathy.
Yes.
Yes. I just wanted to say this issue of the food we eat. You know, some people who go around boasting that they eat free-range meat or free-range eggs from a certain particular shop. You just ask one of them, what does this free range mean? What constitutes free range? They got no idea. But somehow they believe in their head this free range egg or free range meat, you know, the chicken or the meat thereof was eating something other than what the regular chicken is, you know. But my attitude to food and what you consume and everything is each one of us has got a date and a time. If you are decided not to make it past 40, you can eat veggies from birds. You will not make it past 40. Those veggies will give you something that is gonna kill you. You know. Like myself, KG, I'm very fond of my Sunday plate with a glass of Coke with ice. I'm not gonna give you that up. I'm enjoying that. I believe I'll live to 80, 90, 100 years. If that is the case.
KG, you're not going to do what?
I'm not going to give up my glass of on Sunday, a plate of 7 colors with ice cold.
Not even in exchange for a longer life, KG.
No way. And my reason is this, kid. During COVID, there's a lot of people who passed on, who were very young and healthy, living very healthy lifestyles, going to the gym, eating healthy and everything. And we take an example of you know, he was hit by that thing, I think, twice. And then he went home to recuperate and he came back. But there's a lot of doctors, actors, and all these other people who I believe were very much younger than him. But because of this thing, if you are not going to make it to 45, you will not make it to 45. In spite of drinking certain water, going to the gym 2 times a day, buying organic food wherever, and all this and all that and the other. You know? So I don't believe this our daily sister.
So KG, you believe it's just all in the hands of a higher power?
That is my belief. If you love your balls brain, you must continue drinking because you stay away from it at your own peril because you die at 30. I know a lot of people, you know, who live to 70, 75, but who are living extremely reckless lives.
Okay.
You know, drinking a lot and not eating what is usually referred to as nutritious food. You know?
Okay. All right, KG. We'll
so
leave it
there. People
there.
must deprive themselves of the finer things in life that make them happy. in the hope that you live longer. There's no such thing.
All right, KG out in bloom. Yeah, the fascinating relationship that we have with the things we eat. Our insurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand, SMS out to 38462. Now that's good news.
Independent and impartial. This is SAfm News.
Thank you, Cathy. In your top stories, Ramokgopa talks up advantages of nuclear energy and more tributes following Zahara's passing. This is SAfm News. A very good morning. I am Luyanda Maume. Electricity Minister Dr. Kgosientsho Ramokgopa says nuclear power is the cheapest and reliable energy mix that the country can benefit from. Ramokgopa says Eskom has had over 40 years operating the only nuclear power station, Koeberg, in South Africa, incident-free. Currently, Koeberg is undergoing maintenance to extend Koeberg Power Station's operating license and the power station's life by another 20 years. Ramokgopa briefed the media in Pretoria this morning.
What we know about nuclear is the cheapest, safest, and most reliable, and we are going this route. And as NERSA made a determination, is that there's significant amount of technological advancements that have happened in this space. So it is important that we take notice of that and ensure that we are able to benefit from those technological advances.
The IFP National Policy Conference is due to get underway in Empangeni on the north coast of KwaZulu-Natal today. The IFP last held its policy conference more than 10 years ago. This comes as the party is gearing up to launch its 2024 election manifesto. The party has acknowledged internal challenges, including the instability that was brought about by the breakaway of some leaders, which led to the birth of the NFP. IFP spokesperson Khuleko Hlengwa says behind the scenes, the party has managed to regroup.
The party has been undergoing a process of renormalization and regularization of its processes over the past 10 years specifically. You'll remember that we had the policy review conference ahead of the 2009 elections, which, of course, after that, everybody knows we had the trouble of the split in the party, and so there's been a heightened focus on the normalizing of party structures. There's been a focus on mass mobilization around branches. There's been a focus on ensuring that we get our ducks in a row in order for us to do the things that ordinarily come with the business of running a political party.
Police say Limpopo police officer has shot and killed his wife and then turned the gun on himself at Nhlaniki village outside Giyani. Police spokesperson Hlulani Mashaba says the bodies of the couple were found inside their bedroom. They have both been identified by family members. Mashaba says they suspect domestic violence as a possible cause of the incident.
It is reported that the female person had 3 bullet wounds on the body and the male person having bullet wound on the head. It is reported once again that the deceased persons were identified by the family member as 39-year-old Sergeant Sambo of South African Police Services in Giyani and his wife Susan Mhlari, aged 42 years old. Circumstances surrounding the shooting incident are being investigated and the element of domestic violence cannot be ruled out.
To this story now, Gold One Mine says disciplinary action will be taken against mine workers found guilty of misconduct. This comes after miners staged a sit-in for several days in protest of the dismissal of 50 workers following a labor dispute in October. The company has also described last week's events as a hostage situation, as some of the workers were forced to take part in the sit-in and were assaulted while underground. Gold One's head of legal, Ziad Hassam, says staging a sit-in will not change their approach to dealing with misconduct in terms of their code of conduct.
This has become something of a worrying trend within the sector in the last few months. And between ourselves, the NUM, AMCU, as well as the DMR, we need to find lasting solutions to make sure that this doesn't become the norm every time an employee or a group of employees are dissatisfied with something that happens at a management level.
The SABC board and executives are expected to appear before Parliament's Communications Committee this morning. The board is expected to present its updated corporate plan. The committee will further be briefed by the South African Post Office on its business rescue plan. This is expected to be the last portfolio committee meeting for the year. The committee is also expected to adopt its first draft legacy report as the 6th Parliament is coming to an end next year. And finally, Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane has joined the chorus of South Africans expressing their condolences to the family of singer Zahara. Mabuyane says her passing is a devastating blow. The Premier spokesperson, Yanga Funani, says the provincial government mourns with the people who loved and supported Zahara.
She was a sensational artist whose achievements in the industry are unparalleled. We thank her for her contributions that have placed not just her name on higher pedestals, but that of the province as well. We thank the Mkutukane family for lending her talent to the world. Sadly, we have been robbed of celebrating her future successes. Premier Mabuyane has sent his deepest condolences to the family and those in the arts and culture sphere who walked this road with Zahara.
Recapping your top story, Electricity Minister Dr. Kgosian Tsuramokgopa says nuclear power is the cheapest and reliable energy mix that the country can benefit from. He briefed the media in Pretoria this morning. Your headlines at 10:30 with Mudupi Makhalimele for SAfm News. My name is Luyanda Maume and I'm out.
Those are the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 38462 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAfm.
This festive season, stash away some cash to shop till you drop. Outsurance is so confident that they can save you money on your car insurance premium that you can ask them for 500 Rand if they can't. That's a monthly saving on your current premium or 500 Rand cash. Claim free and with the same insurer for 3 years, ask for 1,500 Rand instead. SMS out to 38462 for a quote. That's out to 38462. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's apply.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
It's 7 after 10 o'clock. Welcome to the second hour of the show. Coming up in this hour, we're going to be focusing on the issue of livestock theft that has been on the increase and what are the things that then we need to look out for, especially if you own livestock. I know there are lots of South Africans that invest in livestock because it's just one of those things that seems like a more manageable side hustle to have, although it is a lot of work, but lots of us really still believe in the value of livestock, and so we'll be taking a look at this issue over the next hour. We'll be joined by a representative from the Institute for Security Studies, the National Red Meat Producers Organization, and also a safety and risk analyst in the Free State who deals specifically with the agriculture sector to share their insights of where the vulnerabilities for livestock owners are and what the trends they've been watching are. And I suppose at the end of the day, it's about what are the steps that then we can take to ensure that livestock is better protected. Before we get into that, lots of WhatsApp voice notes from you in the first hour of the show. Many of you, of course, just reacting to the passing of singer Zahara. We'll take those and then get into our conversation for this hour.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Hi, Cathy. Condolences to the family of Zahara. She was an icon. Her music healed us. My favorite song was Guitar. So may her soul rest in peace. Peter Maila Machaba from Letswata. Thank you.
Good morning, Cathy. I've never been hurt like this before. Hey, this reminded me of Brenda Fassie. I said to myself, why? So such talented girls leave us so early in their lives. But it doesn't matter, only God knows. May her soul rest dearly in peace. Thank you, Cathy.
Yeah, good morning once again, sister. Yeah, it's another. Yeah, it became a sad morning for me. Zahara was one of the people that I've watched, and listened to, and musically grown, and she was that voice that opened up other doors to, listening to other music. And, being someone who's actually battling with substance abuse, it was, I didn't watch her show to just watch a well-known person's reality show, but it was more of, I know what she's going through and whatever, but nonetheless, we lost another great one. Mbongiseni ngisepimvile.
Morning, Cathy. Morning, listeners of Radio SAfm. Maria April, Springbok. Cathy, to Sarah's family and friends, even as an old woman, thinking of her and listening to her music, it automatically just fills you with love. You can be the hardest person. She make you think of what could have been, what was, what could have been, and what will be. So she just touches the heart and soul. May her soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Morning, Cathy. Lawrence here from Bloemfontein. Cathy, it's really sad that we have to lose such a young soul in music who had a whole career in front of her. She was really a Venus. She was great. She was great. And my wife always used to, when she used to appear on TV, my wife would always say, there's your girlfriend on TV. It's really sad. May God accept her into his kingdom. Thank you.
Hi, Cathy. I wouldn't advise to steal livestock, especially if you need the livestock, the cows, to pay for Lobola.
Hey, good morning, Sis Cathy and the listeners of SAfm. Great show as always. I think I like what you've said to Mike in Newlands regarding us as communities or as South Africans who keep quiet when things are going wrong with our politicians. But I tell you one thing, I stay in KZN. If you open your mouth about corruption, about anything, you remember the guy on Sindiso Makaka's issue or murder. He is nowhere because he's scared. He's living in fear because now he was going to be killed. So what I'm trying to say, when we try to speak about corruption, we report to the police, you are told that you will be killed. And so everyone is scared to be killed. This is Lanta in KZN.
Hi, Cathy and the listeners. Edwin here in Bloemfontein. Just want to make an input regarding healthy food, especially the liver. Now my suggestion is, in order for you to keep your body healthy, visit your GP every 6 months, do your full body checkup. Take the blood test, check the liver, everything, to check whether they are still in good condition. I think by now, this thing of after 30 years, you must do the checkups. Nowadays, starting from 25 is getting down, and now I see. So at least once a year, do a full body checkup, or every 6 months. Thank you.
Hello, Sis Cathy. Mcete speaking here in Kala. Sis Cathy, I pass my condolences to the Zahara family. What a sweet singing lady. Her voice was having that thing, that will draw your attention to listen to her. I also named my brother's daughter Zahara after her. Oh, she was really a sweet pelican. We are grieving together with that Zahara family. Thanks, Sis Cathy. Mcete here in Kala.
SAfm values your views. Be an active citizen.
The 22-man battle at Borussia Park is high-level evidence of how powerful 3 points is. Borussia Mönchengladbach and SV Werder Bremen are both in dire need of victory to create a crucial path to the top half of the German elite league. Who will dominate the 90 minutes? The Foals or the River Islanders? This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Witness the nail-biting clash between Borussia Mönchengladbach and SV Werder Bremen on Friday, 15 December at 9:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAfm is sharing the festive spirit by giving away 5,000 Rand to 10 lucky winners. To enter, SMS SAfm Festive, followed by your name and what the festive season means to you to 41391. And you could win. Tune in to SAfm throughout December and we could be calling you. SMSs are charged at R1.50. Free SMSs, free minutes and SMS bundles do not apply. Terms and conditions apply. Visit safm.co.za for more information. Don't miss out on the SAfm Playwriting Competition. To enter, visit safm.co.za. From the menu icon, select Competitions. Click on the SAfm Drama Playwriting Competition. Read the T's and C's of the competition. Check out the competition's Q&A. Fill in the entry form by clicking the link provided. Email your script to drama@safm.co.za. For further information, email drama@safm.co.za. Entries close on the 22nd of January 2024. SAfm, leading the conversation.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAfm.
Well, joining us for our conversation looking at the theft of livestock is Dr. Karina Brewer, who is Senior Organized Crimes Researcher at the Institute for Security Studies. Dr. Brewer, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Freddie van Tonder is the Vice Chairman of the National Stock Theft Prevention and National Red Meat Producers Organization. Freddie, good morning to you. Thanks for your time this morning.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for having us.
And Dr. Jane Buys is the Safety and Risk Analyst at Free State Agriculture. Dr. Buys, good morning to you. Thanks for your time.
Good morning. Thank you.
I think a good place for us to start would be just with the trends that you have all observed in your respective fields of how stock theft is taking place in the country. What are some of the things that you've been able to pick up? Dr. Brewer, let me begin with you.
Thanks. Yeah, I think across the board, and I think my fellow speakers will agree, the biggest challenge that we're currently seeing is that we've sort of moved away from these isolated incidents of stock theft, where someone might be stealing a sheep here or there, perhaps to feed their family, perhaps to try and sell it, to where we're currently seeing, large amounts of animals being stolen, often by what people would typically refer to as syndicates. So these are basically people who are running businesses, but in an illegal way, stealing livestock and either adding it to their own herds or selling it, for example, to an abattoir or a butchery. So I think that's probably the most worrying thing that we're seeing at the moment.
How is the livestock often stolen? Or Freddie, actually, before I get ahead of myself, let me give you a chance to respond to the same question.
Yes, we must remember that theft of livestock is a crime that has come over ages. And yes, we experience the fact that demand of livestock for cultural functions and to sell in informal trade resulted in organized syndicates becoming well organized in the theft of livestock.
Dr. Buys?
Yes, I think what should be noted is that however the commercial farming sector is being hammered about this type of property-related crime, the emerging farming sector and the subsistence farming sector is equally important in being targeted by criminality and criminal activity relating to livestock theft. And what needs to be said is that livestock theft is not solely a property-related crime. It has evolved into some sort of a serious and violent crime as well, that a lot of the farming sectors are being targeted in terms of farm attacks, because we classify it as farm attacks when there is violence involved, when they rob sheep or cattle from farms. And we've seen an emerging trend, especially in the Kwakwa area, whereby they call it also cattle rustling or raiding, where they actually come in, criminals, and then they rob people of their sheep and cattle. So then we classify it also as a serious and violent crime, and that the criminals are also armed, they're heavily armed when they conduct these activities.
Just in terms of the large amounts, Dr. Brewer, that you spoke about of animals that are being stolen, how are these animals often stolen? One, of course, would immediately think about the logistics of having to move, a lot of animals at the same time. It's not something that's necessarily easy to do. It would require planning, it would require transportation, manpower. So how are people able to do this and still stay under the radar?
Yeah, so I think it's again important to distinguish between the sort of isolated incident, of perhaps one or two individuals, taking livestock, versus the people who are really organized to basically run this, like I said, as any other sort of livestock business. So we often would see, just like with any other crime, incidents often take place at night. Of course, not exclusively at night, but very often at night, when people can hide under the cover of darkness, when there's less, traffic or foot traffic on the roads, for example. It's also easier to gain access, for example, by cutting fences or opening gates, at night when there isn't necessarily a lot of eyes. If you look at a township setting, for example, often there isn't sufficient lighting. So again, under the cover of darkness, it might just be easier to access a kraal, for example, at night. And with regards to how these animals are moved, this really depends. So we've often seen incidents where livestock is moved by foot. And in times like this, they might be hidden somewhere on a farm, where the farmer might be looking for his livestock, but he can't find it, sort of like in a temporary kraal, or they can load them directly onto a vehicle. So we've seen them being loaded into anything from, a Toyota Corolla onto a bakkie to large trucks, depending on the amount of animals that are stolen. But I think what is most traumatic for farmers is that very often animals are also slaughtered on the spot. So we know that animals are sometimes slaughtered alive. We know that young animals are killed in horrible ways because they make a noise when they're screaming for their moms. And they also slow down the herd if they are being herded by foot. So, there's different sort of modus operandi, but if you are looking at specifically the organized sort of way of doing it, it is very definitely large amounts using trucks or bakkies, where if it's a smaller sort of small-scale operation, then probably you'll have the animals being herded by foot.
If the animals are slaughtered on the spot, Dr. Brewer, does that mean that they're going to be sold directly to butcheries? Do butcheries just accept them in that state without asking questions about where this animal comes from?
So I would imagine, obviously, ideally, and according to the law, an animal should be marked with the individual marking of a specific farmer. But of course, when an animal has been slaughtered, that mark is not necessarily identifiable anymore. So yes, perhaps the butchery may not ask questions, but we also know that some of the livestock that has been slaughtered is sold within the community itself. So it's not necessarily a professional business that's buying it. It's a community member. But we also know, and I know this is across the country, where we've seen that it's not rare for an animal that has been slaughtered, for example, or stolen from the Northwest Province to be sold to a big butchery in Gauteng. So it really could be any, of these options. And with regards to whether the butchery owners are doing due diligence, of course, it's quite hard to do if an animal isn't marked. And perhaps the person selling it has, a fraudulent papers pretending to be the true owner of the livestock. So there really is a responsibility on multiple actors to check the supply chain because of this massive problem that we do have with certain livestock being sold.
Yeah. Freddie, I think this will be a good place for you to come in, especially when you have seen the ways in which people, again, are moving this livestock. So, Karina talks about sometimes these animals being hidden on a farm. And I know that, some farmers have quite a significant amount of land. So that is possible. But one would think if you're able to track down the steps, follow the path that that they've taken, if they've been stolen on foot, it shouldn't take more than 2 days to track them down. And yet, what we're seeing is that the breakthrough in a lot of these cases just becomes very difficult.
Yes, just to confirm what the previous speaker said, I'll confirm what she said. It's quite correct. We must remember that syndicates and stock thieves are different methods and modes operandi in executing their criminal activities. So that was said. Livestock will mostly be stolen from open grazing fields and taken to a secluded area where it will be loaded and transported to a destination where it will be slaughtered, and the meat sold to the informal trade. And that's the investigation we've done, and we found out it goes to the informal trade. There's a huge demand for red meat. Live animals will be sold to traders or a livestock auction, or animals slaughtered on open grazing field, as mentioned, will be cut up in pieces and transported to and sold to informal trade amongst the community. Not registered butcheries, but informal traders in the rural and especially in KwaZulu-Natal, Umlazi and KwaMashu. There's a huge demand for red meat in terms of the cultural methods that they practice on a daily basis. So there's a huge demand for red meat, and they are consumers of red meat in a huge sense.
Okay, so on the one hand, there's the stealing of the stock theft where the animals are killed on scene, transported, taken to butcheries. And on the other, where they're taken away, from this farm or while they're grazing to wherever. What is the process of being able to track down what has happened? So what do typical investigations entail into stock theft?
Are you asking me?
Yes, Freddie.
Oh, there's various methods. It's modern technology is there. I mean, the commercial farmers has got cameras, ear tags, and they are marked, the brand mark, which is very, very important. And then obviously they've got security companies. Our concern is theft of animals from our informal traders that's dependent on their livestock as a source of income, and that is our concern. And where there is actually no formal technology to assist them in tracking it down or preventing that theft of stock.
And Jane, that's where really part of the problem also lies in our communities, right? Because in some instances, people are taking whatever little monies they've been able to put together to invest in this livestock, knowing it's going to, reproduce and hopefully grow that investment that they have made.
Yes, it is so. It's really a concern when we're looking at the emerging farming sector in the Free State. And we had actually a few individuals last year in the Free State and this year in the Mohlahlana area that's consisting of the Kwakwa area and also 10 of the 13 border stations. So, and one thing that came out there is that the emerging farmers complained a lot about possible police corruption. They also have their issues concerning the police methods of investigating this type of crime. And what is important, like the previous speakers noted, is that when you're a farmer, irrespective of commercial emerging subsistence, then you need to brand mark your animals from a very young age, because criminals are also targeting very young animals, calves and lambs. So because they are not yet brand marked or tattooed. So it's very much important for you as the farm owner or the owner of these animals to brand mark them. Then secondly, you need to make sure that you have some sort of security involving protecting your animals. So I think it's important for us to take note of the fact that a lot of farmers are reporting these incidents to the police, but the reflective crime statistics is not reflecting the true picture, what we are seeing. So if I can just mention, when we had done a survey in the Dobom-Futsanyana area, just to mention.
Dr. Bass, I'm going to ask you to pause it there. When we come back, you can take us just, into that survey and give us some of the issues that you were asking respondents about and what the findings of that survey are. We're taking a look at the issue of livestock theft that has been on the increase, and as you heard, it's really the emerging and subsistence farmers that are feeling the impact of this theft the most, because obviously when it comes to resources and capacity, they have they don't have a lot that they're able to put on the table in terms of the infrastructure to protect their livestock. So we'll continue this conversation in a bit. It's 10:30, time for the latest news headlines.
Thank you, Cathy. In your headlines, Amapungani Center for Investigative Journalism says South Africa could face serious consequences for partnering with Russia's Gazprom Bank. PetroSA has confirmed the appointment of Gazprom Bank as the preferred strategic partner for the 3.7 billion rand deal to restart the gas-to-liquids refinery in Mossel Bay. Electricity Minister Dr. Kgosientsho Ramokgopa says nuclear power is the cheapest and reliable energy mix that the country can benefit from. Ramokgopa says Eskom has had over 40 years operating the only nuclear power station, Koeberg in South Africa, incident-free. And the Democratic Republic of Congo will be going to the polls on the 20th of this month. The elections come at a time when the country is experiencing security challenges in the eastern part of the country. Details on these and other stories at 11. Cathy has your SAfm market update.
Taking a look at your markets this morning, the rand is currently trading at 19 rand 2 cents to the dollar, 23 rand 88 to the pound, and 20 rand 48 to the euro. Markets in Asia ended firmer. The JCE is higher in mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe are also up this hour. Gold is trading at $1,985, platinum $916 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $76.35 a barrel.
Think big on the Insider SA this Monday evening at 6 as content creator Mohlahlana drops some pearls.
It's constantly about innovating yourself, upping your game.
Learn to spin with
T-Will Touch. I'm letting you come and spend a day and time with me. You already know I'm with the king of spins. Watch me do it.
And Vuyo Oyiya turns her duk into a work of art.
And look where we are today.
That's the Insider SA. This Monday at 6. Repeat Saturday at 1 p.m. and Sunday morning at 10:30 on S3.
Manchester United ladies and Liverpool ladies will never sleep well at night until they reach the summit. They refuse to share points as they are both interested in victory. This is the FA Women's Super League. Who will have a great day during the festive season on the field of play? Catch Manchester United ladies up against Liverpool ladies on Sunday, 17 December at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC 1. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag we love it here. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, we continue the conversation on the Talking Point. We're looking at livestock theft, and going into the festive season, of course, security agencies have been warning members of the public, especially those who own livestock, to be a lot more vigilant. There are different and creative ways in which syndicates and also just ordinary criminals are finding when it comes to the theft of stock. Dr. Karina Brewer is with the Institute for Security Studies. She's a senior organized crimes researcher. Freddy van Tonder is vice chairman of the National Stock Theft Prevention and the National Red Meat Producers Organization. And Dr. Jane Bass is a safety and risk analyst at the Free State Agriculture. So, Dr. Jane, you wanted to run us through a survey which you have conducted. Is the survey looking specifically at the impact of stock theft?
Yes, definitely.
All right.
We've conducted that survey last year, especially focusing on the Dobom-Futsanyana area and also focusing on the Kwakwa area. is that there were more than 1,000 cases reported in a 10-month period in that specific district. Now, that district comprises of 25 police stations, and they contributed to more than 47% of the Free State's reported crime statistics on livestock theft. It's one district. So, also 10 of the 13 border stations are in that district. So, it is a huge focus area of livestock theft in the Free State. So what we've seen from that survey is that the complainants are mostly emerging farmers, about 2/3 of them. And then in 31.56% of cases, 10 to 99 animals were stolen. And in 10 cases, more than 100 animals at one stage, it's in one incident was stolen. So there was 10 of them. So in just that 10-month period, more than 53 million rand of losses took place in that one district in the Free State. So in 20 of the cases, more than 750 animals were robbed from farms. Sure. So that's why we refer to cattle, raiding and rustling. So it's a serious and violent offence taking place.
Do you think that it's being given the seriousness it deserves, Jane?
No,
because the value that is associated with 750 animals, it's incredulous. If they were all cows, that number, of course, is quite significant, even if they're not.
The fact of the matter is that when we had this Rural Safety Summit last year in Paris, the national one, with the police commissioner and the minister, we came to an understanding that the police, together with organized agriculture and together with a lot of role players like AFASA, NAFO, NAPO, etc., will come up with a new strategy to address livestock theft effectively. And that has not been seen. What happened in the past is that, and a lot of the speakers refer to that, it was Potslag. It has changed. The essence of livestock theft has changed. It has become organized crime. So the police needs to focus on this in a different fashion, in a different manner. So in the first instance, there's not sufficient capacity from SAfs at the stock theft units to address this, because it needs to be investigated from another angle and another perspective.
Karina, what do you believe is leading to the difficulty where investigations into stock theft are concerned?
Well, I think, first of all, it's just the sheer scale of the problem with a severely under-resourced, South African police service, who are very often also perceived as being involved in the crime, which unfortunately has proven to be the case in some incidents. Of course, it's not always the case, but you do often see that corruption and organized crime go hand in hand. So you have this sort of, whether it's a subsistence or an emerging or a commercial farmer, there seems to be this really distrust of the police, and, it might be based on potential perceptions of involvement, but very often also just on when they do report a case, the police doesn't necessarily have the resources to follow up. So that really leaves them to be really despondent about the entire situation and really just trying to see how they can either protect themselves or perhaps enter another industry and sell their livestock.
When it comes again to the responses of the police and the perceptions around the involvement, is it because I remember just in the last 2 weeks we had one of our listeners who had also experienced stock theft, and when he went to the police station and he told them where he suspected his livestock was being kept, they told him, at least as he said to us on radio, that he must then go and fetch it since he knows where it is. Mm-hmm. Is that something that's a common occurrence when it comes to dealing with crimes of this nature? Karina?
So I think, we should always caveat this. So I think the majority of policemen are honest and hardworking. They are just completely overwhelmed. But unfortunately, when it comes to, the police having an attitude like that, saying, well, then go and fetch your livestock, especially, as Jane has mentioned, in a scenario where there is often violence directed towards the owners of livestock. And I think everyone saw the news I think it was about 2 weeks ago, of the farmer in Northwest who, when he wanted to report that his cattle had been poisoned, he found the police station to be closed. And so I think it's obviously, of course, very case specific, whether the police are willing and able to assist. But unfortunately, the stories that make the media are often the negative ones. And we have, there are multiple recorded incidents of police being involved, but also other government officials. And I think all of those stories sort of collectively create this impression that if you go to the police, there'll be very little assistance given to you, which is not necessarily fair to the police. But this is also why a lot of the farming communities, whether it's in a township or in a, a large commercial rural sort of area, why they are just putting in efforts or steps by themselves to protect themselves as much as they can.
Freddie, yes, come in.
Yes, just to add to that, yes, I do get around, especially in KwaZulu-Natal, to some of the scenes. It's very important to note that, investigation of stock theft and the gathering of evidence is complex, and it requires a skilled and experienced investigators to present a case in a court of law. However, it's a fact that some of the police, especially the stock theft units, are under-resourced with a little bit of manpower. Now, we must remember that to investigate a stock theft case is time-consuming. It's mostly, especially in KwaZulu-Natal, rugged terrain. So it takes a whole day to investigate one case. And I've experienced that a lot of our investigators carry a huge amount of cases, which doesn't effectively can effectively investigate the matter. Just to come back to KwaZulu-Natal, and I'm talking on behalf of the stock owners in KwaZulu-Natal, we must remember that we've got the Ingonyama Trust in KwaZulu-Natal. Now, 60% of our cattle, livestock cattle, is on the Ingonyama Trust properties. That gives you an indication as to the amount of animals. And that's for that reason that the syndicates, well-organized syndicates, are targeting the emerging farmers because of the fact that the commercial farmers has got relatively proactive actions in place, like cameras, security companies, patrols by farm watchers, which does not occur in the rural areas. And that is our concern. And like I said previously, it's an economic problem in terms of the emerging farmers. It depends on their livestock. But yes, the police are under-resourced. We mustn't generalize. There's some very good policemen out there, and I deal with them on a daily basis. But yes, there's some of them involved, and that creates a real problem in effectively investigating and preventing stock theft in the province.
Freddie, I don't want to make assumptions about what you are saying. So 60% of the livestock on Ingonyama Trust means what? That this livestock is in the hands of ordinary people and therefore makes it more difficult for them to protect it?
Well, yes, we must remember that it's livestock that is owned by the rural community. And unfortunately, that's our problem, and we have to educate these people, the livestock owners. You know, they graze their animals in open grazing field unattended, and that creates opportunity for the syndicates to steal the livestock.
Yeah, and I guess there's also the issue of violence that Jane raised earlier, that more and more we're seeing that the theft of livestock is now accompanied by violence, and perhaps is this something that you're also seeing as well, Freddie?
Yes, absolutely. We've got along the Drakensberg border, which is densely populated by the rural community. Some of them would not even report the matter to the police because of various factors. And we've got an increase of murder cases in this particular area where they will take the law in their own hands and start killing the perpetrators or suspected perpetrators. And that is a concern to us as well.
Yeah, because if in the absence of what is a trusted police service coming in as an intervention, then of course mob justice becomes one of the things that communities feel that they need to turn to, even though that in and of itself is also not legal. Freddie, is there a way of ensuring that in the supply chain, so when we look at the value chain, at least as all of you have described it, this meat ends up, or rather this livestock ends up somewhere. You spoke about some of it sold directly to butcheries, abattoirs, and then sold off into the rest of the market. What are the stops that can be put in place? Because surely if we're able to close the taps further down the line, then that in and of itself could disincentivize some of this theft from taking place.
Yes. Well, it's a comprehensive approach by all stakeholders, whether it's the local station, the stock theft unit, the police in general, the local authorities to police this sort of informal trade. It's an approach that we have to combine in preventing this sort of thing.
All right, let me take some of our callers that are lined up wanting to speak specifically on this issue. In Tabanchu, Dintwe, good morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
I know your topic today, it reaches my heart and it makes my heart bleed. You know, as a smallholder farmer, we have tried. And what I can say on behalf of my colleagues in the Free State, especially around Mangaung, we once called the head of the South African police in charge of stock theft. I don't know what is his title, but his name is Popoditata from Pretoria. He said it's about 2 years back. And then he promised us that he will deal with his chaps on this issue of stock theft. But still today, we are still suffering of our animals being stolen. And the problem, as your guests are mentioning there, I once mentioned that and gave the committee in the Free State that was also dealing with cross-border and the stock theft. And then I said, you know, the butcheries, the abattoirs, the auction houses, it's where our animals are being sold. Because there's no order. You come there, they say, is this your animals? Said yes. Where are the papers? Here is the papers. But to go and verify the papers that we are giving them with the animals that we have offloaded, they never do that. And I said, if we can clamp on that, on the auctions, and also these informal buyers, because also they are buying the stolen things. But nothing is happening. But coming to us as farmers, we are not cooperating. I once said and suggested to our farmers around in Mangaung that if all of us, we can come together and invest in technology to protect our livestock and forget about the police complaining about the police and nothing is being done. But if you can stand up, come together, invest in technology, I said there are cameras that are long-range cameras that we can install. There are the long-range cameras that we can install. Yeah.
All right. All right, into it.
And also the drones. If you can buy drones, come together, and the drones will patrol our farms. But our farmers also, they don't want to bring their side. This is what I wanted to say. If we as farmers, we can come together and work together, then we can also prevent and save our livestock.
All right. All right, Dintwe, thanks for that contribution. Spiwe, you're in Mayerton. Good morning.
Good morning, Cecile and your guest.
Yes, I understand you're also a farmer.
Look, Cecile, it is very painful what is happening in South Africa. Ne? You know, your guests are beating about the bush here. They must tell us who's stealing our livestock. Our livestock has been stolen by these so-called Russians. They're coming from Lesotho. Those guys, they are killers. when they attack you or in your farm or wherever you are at night or during the days, they kill you, Sissy. So our government are not protecting us, emerging farmers. They in Meatin, Estelo, they came at night, Sissy, with guns. They took our animals. Our securities had to run away because they had of to die. At Zonge also, they came and killed two of securities who were there guarding our livestock. But our government is doing nothing, Sissy. It's people who are coming from Lesotho. Those guys are dangerous, Sissy. They call themselves Russians. But your guests are not saying, they're not, in fact, I'm angry, Sissy. I'm angry. Our government is doing nothing about it.
Spiwe, how much livestock did you guys lose? And is it you and a collective of other farmers?
Yes, Sissy. We have more than 300 goats. They were stolen, Sissy. More than 300. Look, we did report we do have our case, but now the police will tell us to have a brain mark, to have a tattoo. There's a lot of questions. They don't help us. But we suspect even these policemen are involved. They are involved.
And Spiwe, do you think that after they're stolen, the animals are kept in South Africa, or do you believe that they moved elsewhere?
They moved elsewhere, like they're crossing the border, straight to Lesotho. These are syndicate, my darling. Syndicate, they don't just steal them in their room around South Africa. They take them straight out of South Africa. These are syndicated. Very painful, sister.
Oh, Spiwe, I'm sorry for what you guys have gone through. Hey, it must be such a devastating impact on your business in particular.
I'm telling you, we are small emerging farmers. We're trying to live, through this livestock, but our government is not supporting us. It's not supporting us, this Katie. Just imagine, two our cats were gunned down in Zonge, but we thought maybe, we'll see something on the television. Nothing, newspapers, nothing, media, nothing. Our government is letting us down,
Sure. And for the business, what does this all mean for the business, Piwe? Where do you stand today?
Sissy, I've nothing today. I'm telling you, Sissy, I've nothing today. I've got only 8 Brubok goats, 8 Brubok, and 13 Brahman cattle. Only now, Sissy, I'm Madala. I'm about to retire. I'm going to survive without my livestock. How? Because government is doing nothing to protect us. Nothing. We know it's Russians come. Those guys are coming from Lesotho, Sissy.
So many years worth of investment. Spiwe, a devastating story, really. I'm so sorry about what has happened to you and some of your business partners, and the loss of life that has happened again, worsening the impact of it. Malinga, you are in Harrismith. You too are a farmer. You want to contribute to this conversation. Good morning.
Good morning, Sister. How are you?
I'm good, Malinga. Go for it.
Yeah, Sister, the problem that we have are the police officers. We give them the information. About last year, I managed to caught the guys who are slaughtering the cattle 2 times, and I give the information the police. And I even organize the guys because I used to know before they come and take those cattle. I inform the police. When we call them now, we are here. These guys are here, are busy slaughtering the cattle. They don't come. It's about a kilometer and a half from the police station, but they don't arrive in time. Just after the guys, they disappear, the police, they came. And when you tell them who are those guys, we know even where they stay and where they supply those needs of the cattle. They don't go there. The guys, they supply the foreigners who own the butchery in town, in Harrismith. And the people who are around, they buy the meat from those guys. We know the guys. The police are failing us. And I would like to praise the security company called Balit. Since they arrived, we see a lot of changes. There is no criminals. They fight with everything that they have. Those guys, they help us a lot.
All right. Malinga in Harrismith, thanks for calling in and giving us that perspective. We're edging towards the end of the hour for this conversation. Karina, let me come to you. You've dealt with the organized aspects of this crime. This cross-border issue is also something that the ISS has written about extensively.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess your experience of stock thefts will also differ depending on where in South Africa you live, in other words, where these incidents take place. So, of course, the areas that border Lesotho, KwaZulu-Natal, the Eastern Cape, the Free State, are experiencing these sort of cross-border incursions. But very similarly, there are also incidents where livestock is stolen from Lesotho, and this is by South Africans. So this is a historical practice. So I don't think it's in any sort of way as simple as saying, it's the Basotho taking our stock. It's never that simple. It's the same if you look at Northwest, for example. There would be cross-border movement to Botswana. But I think when you're talking about stock theft, especially in the interior of the country, not necessarily bordering a neighboring country, then you would primarily be looking at South Africans driving that. But again, it could be as specific as going down to a station level and looking at who's living around there, what are the drivers.
Freddie, let me come to you, give you an opportunity to respond and also just give your concluding remarks briefly.
Yes, I think a very good advice to your listeners. We must remember the prevention of theft of livestock is the sole responsibility of the livestock owner himself. And our advice to our members and to our livestock owners, the communities that must engage with their local community safety structures. And it was mentioned, our rural safety structures must be implemented at station level. That is where that's the platform where the community should engage with the station commander and the stock theft commander. And that's how you can keep them accountable. It's no use we complain about the police. We must keep them accountable. How do we keep them accountable? We get engaged in their security structures, CPF and rural safety structures, and demand at the meeting where you can raise your issues because that's a protocol to follow. That's my advice to the livestock owners.
Yeah, we have to get involved. I guess there's no two ways about it. Jane, let me give you the final word briefly.
Yes, what I agree with what Freddie said, but I also want to add, it's the sole mandate of the South African Police Service to combat, investigate, prevent crime. So it's also the responsibility of the stock owner to do something, and he should do something, but it's the responsibility of the SAfm, and it's a comprehensive approach that needs to be adopted. So it's all divisions that should become involved: the visible crime intelligence, organized crime detectives like stock theft units, and the hawks where there's police corruption or allegations of police corruption. Then also, I think what we've seen in the Free State since we introduced the private investigators on livestock theft, together with the SAfs under the rural safety strategy, is that reaction time is very crucial and very much important, and information. So as soon as you get an investigator to attend to a crime scene and follow up all the leads and the tracks and whatever, and the successes in recovery in the livestock comes then eventually, and also maybe arrest. So that we have seen recently. So it is that there should be a more organized approach from communities and the police in dealing with this.
All right. Jane, Freddie, and Karina, thank you all for being part of the conversation, and also to all of the farmers that called in to speak about your personal experiences too. It's edging towards the latest news update. We'll take that after this break.
Thanks.
Culinary tales bold and true that connects with joy, meal, and mood. Dijo le Bophelo, a show for sustenance of mind and heart, where food and choice and harmony flow. Catch Dijo le Bophelo and find your glow only on SABC2. Brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
The argument of who will lift the Carling Knockout Cup will be concluded by the referee's final whistle. Stellenbosch FC and TS Galaxy FC tackles each other for the big prize at the Moses Mabhida Stadium. Who will prevail eThekwini? Stellies or the Rockets? Catch the Carling Knockout Cup final between Stellenbosch FC and TS Galaxy FC on Saturday, 16th December at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC1 and SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. #We love it here. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Independent and impartial. This is SAfm News.
The top stories this hour: post office retrenchment plans won't affect operations, and more reaction to Zahara's passing. A very good morning to you. Business rescue practitioners at the SA Post Office say their plans to retrench workers will not affect operations at the state-owned entity. This after they stated their plan to retrench 6,000 workers at the post office and to close down 420 branches after it was put in provisional liquidation earlier this year. Practitioner Anush Ruplal says the plan aims to implement the turnaround on cost savings. He says job losses are necessary in this regard.
If we look at some of the duplications and overlaps in operations over the years, there were approximately over 1,800 branches, and that's gradually been reducing. What that's done is allowed just to be for an overlay or a duplication of resources. We're also looking at modernizing the post office, automating various aspects of it, and of course when one applies market matrix or ratios according to the staff to revenue number as an example. This is where we end up in terms of the analysis.
The Amapungani Center for Investigative Journalism says that South Africa could face serious consequences for partnering with Russia's Gazprom Bank. PetroSA has confirmed the appointment of Gazprom Bank as the preferred strategic partner for the 3.7 billion rand deal to restart the gas-to-liquids refinery in Mossel Bay. The fuel refinery was closed in 2020 due to the depletion of offshore gas. Amapungani's Susan Comrie says PetroSA had more appealing options that do not come with the sanctions that Gazprom Bank comes with.
We're trying to hold on to our AGOA status, which is a massive economic benefit for companies throughout South Africa who export products to the US. And the sort of decision to partner with Russia's Gazprom Bank potentially has impacts on that arrangement. It also potentially has impacts directly for PetroSA, who does day-to-day business with other international oil and gas companies, which may have an issue with PetroSA now entering into a partnership with Gazprom Bank.
Electricity Minister Kgosian Soramokgopa says nuclear power is the cheapest and reliable energy mix that the country can benefit from. He says Eskom has had over 40 years operating the only nuclear power station, Koeberg, in South Africa, incident-free. Currently, Koeberg is undergoing maintenance to extend its operating licenses and the power station's life by another 20 years. Ramokgopa briefed the media in Pretoria.
What we know about nuclear is the cheapest, the safest, and most reliable, and we are going this route. And as NERSIDE made a determination, is that there's significant amount of technological advancements that have happened in this space. So it is important that we take notice of that and ensure that we are able to benefit from those technological advances.
The Mpumalanga High Court in Mbombela is expected to sentence a 29-year-old woman for the murder of a boyfriend who was also a police officer. The court had earlier postponed the pre-sentencing because of the outstanding social workers report. Zanele Mkondo has pleaded guilty to shooting Mandlenkosi Twala 7 times while he was sleeping in his home in Pinar, east of Mbombela, more than a year ago. The producer of the multi-award-winning musician Zahara says she'll be remembered as someone who healed through her music. The Loliwe hitmaker, whose real name is Mohlahlana, died at a Joburg hospital last night. Throughout her career, the self-taught guitarist was honored with 17 SA Music Awards, 3 Metro FM Awards, and a Nigeria Entertainment Award. Jakes Tebe says Zahara's music was food for the soul.
Zahara, for me, will be remembered as someone who chose to be herself. She would always say, I'm here to heal the people. I'm here to heal people. I'm here to heal people. Her music was healing to me. Sometimes would bring pain. I would also understand, where that music came from, She'll be remembered for making music from her heart, making music about the real issues of people's lives, what people really go through. And her music always was personal.
And the DRC will be going to the polls on the 20th of this month. The elections come at a time when the country is experiencing security challenges in the eastern parts. Incumbent President Felix Tshisekedi is expected to address an election rally today in Mbuji-Mayi city in central DRC. An eligible voter, Shimba Renate, hopes that the new leadership will address the security challenges in the eastern parts of the country.
Usually during election, we are having always there's a lot of trouble with people, killing people. We don't want that at all. But for now, there's peace. This election is going very well. Everything is going in peace. And after the election, we have a lot of things we are expecting from the one who will be there as a president, because there's a lot of things to fix in this country. There's a lot. We need a complete peace in the east of our country, first of all.
The top story at 11 o'clock, business rescue practitioners at the SA Post Office say their plan to retrench workers will not affect operations at the state-owned entity. Headlines at past for SAfm News. Kimudupi Khaleme.
SAfm 104 to 107 nationwide, leading the conversation. Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Good morning, Cathy and your guest there. No, this thing of stealing of cattle is done by this thing, what we call this Brian, Shisanyamas, and also what we call the shepherds, people like who they say called Abadusai Izinkom, they are involved. At my place there, at my house, at Danahauser, because most boys were here in Gauteng, and then they steal our grandfather cows, about 10 or 11 of them in the night, because there was only my auntie there and the grandchildren. So this Shisanyamas butchery, they are involved in the stealing of cows and cattle. Thanks.
Hi, it was Cathy and South Africans, Eddie from Ondalsres. This issue of stock theft. It's really serious. And here in Machabing, we are encouraging people that we need to go smart farming, whereby you'll have all the cameras. If people buy into this concept, because they'll be able to see even the movement of their livestock, even over their phones. That's the route that we can that we can take to minimize some of the things. Smart farming, be in crop production, smart farming in your commonages or livestock business. That's the way to go. We are introducing it in Machabing, and we are hopeful that people will buy into it. Yes, we have the Machabing Farmers Forum, which was established last week Friday, and we are hopeful that things will shape up so that we bring modernization in this business. Thank you.
Hi, Cathy. Stock theft. Listen, you can't address stock theft alone. You need to address the entire problem facing this country of criminality. The parliament should come into play, adjust the constitution, adjust the laws. Things have changed. Anonymous. Thanks.
Good morning, Sis Cathy and SAfm listeners. I have no words to say how I feel about the passing of Zahara. But God has given us this precious soul that she was, young as she was. She left us a treasure. We are so rich. God loved us so much. Such a young lady with such powerful message in her songs. May her beautiful soul rest in peace. Condolences to the family. And God forgave her sins.
SAfm values your views. Be an active citizen. Cathy Mohlahlana on SAfm.
It's 10 after 11 o'clock. Welcome to the third and final hour on the Talking Point today. We're going to be focusing on the West African coups that we've seen in the last 18 to 24 months. And I think one of the big questions then to ask is the extent to which there is any sense of stability in the region, given the fact that we are a couple of months after the latest one, or are we really looking at a situation where there will be a deepening crisis? And, some of the calls that have been made in particular by ECOWAS is for democracy to be promoted in the region. Now, what is it going to take to promote democracy? Is the ground fertile for conversations about, well-functioning democracies? Because at this point, I don't think it's good enough to just talk about democracy. It matters the kind of democracy that people have. Nixon Katembo is the Africa Affairs Analyst at Channel Africa and joins me now for this conversation. Nixon, good morning. Thank you for your time this morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to SAfm listeners at home.
Of course, whenever we have coups taking place, it's not a good look, especially when it comes to the role of democracy and even the buy-in into democracy. And the West African story has been quite a peculiar one because it seemed to start with one coup and then just filtered through to the rest of the region.
Certainly, and Cathy, we need to look beyond the notion of democracy on a continent versus what I would say, and many would say, social justice on a continent. And when you say social justice, it's not about your right to be able to express yourself freely or your right to whatever liberty that are shining in a different constitution on a continent, but rather the socio-economic justice, your right to be able to live a dignified life within the ambit of the state, but also the economic prospect that different countries possesses on the African continent in the context of the resources that we have. So I think that is the discussion that is lacking. We normally often talk about democracy as if it's just a manna that comes from heaven without looking at what are the social issues that lead to certain discomfort around the societies and around the state itself, leading up to these coups happening because leaders are disenchanted, they are discontent, and the people are not even happy with the kind of leadership that happen. And this is why in countries where the military have a certain hold, they are prone to military coups in the name of salvaging what the people are demanding and what the people want in terms of socio-economic rights and socio-economic justice.
Of course, where things do become a bit tricky, and we can talk about what we saw happening in Niger, is that we've moved from a situation where the coup led by the military junta was, there was a very strong response against it. We had sanctions that were put in place, etc. Where we stand today is that that very same military junta is now being recognized as a legitimate government, and there are now talks of a transition to democracy and perhaps a period of civilian rule that will be looked into. This, when one tries to understand it, at least from the very clear terms of what democracy is and what it's not, it doesn't fit that mold, right? But yet it's being recognized as a democracy. Why is that the case?
I think to understand the whole narrative about these coups in West Africa and the Sahel region, as well as the broader issue of democracy, you have to go back to the history of the country. And I like to take you back there. I know many people have a selective amnesia, what I would call, rightly so, in a sense on how they talk about the event and how they forget what precipitated those events leading up to the current situation that happened in those countries. And hence, I like to go back to the history. Let's say, for instance, in Mali. In the early 90s, there was a popular president, Alpha Omar Konaré, who came from the socialist movement. And Alpha Omar Konaré, when he takes Mali, he asked the Bill Clinton government to assist the Malian government, one, on the issues of debt, went to the IMF, International Monetary Fund, to say that, look, we have a bigger problem. Remember, he's coming into power while there are changes between, right at the end of the Cold War, the shift between the East and the West coming into play, and the wave of democratization on the African continent. But this is a leader who came in, quote-unquote, democracy, right? But he put forward this proposal to solve the issues of Mali. And he said that we're not going to be able to work out a democratic process that is just without solving the question of debt, which is weighing heavily on our economy. And therefore, economic development have to go hand in hand with the democratization that we seek to achieve as Mali as a economy. You know what? The Bill Clinton government refused to accede to the demand of Alpha Omar Konaré. Right. He was willing to solve the issue of the nomadic and sedentary residents in central Mali, but also the Tuareg and Amazigh people in northern Mali. That is one aspect of the issue. Now, you see that Mali, after that, faced coups after coup after the departure of Alpha Omar Konaré. But the second aspect, you see, comes when the French France adopt the euro as a currency in 2002. What France does across the Sahel, it says, no, we're going to maintain the colonial agreements that were there, meaning the France CFA will remain. Those countries who are former French colonies are going still to behold their 50% reserve in a French central bank, which then give huge economic incentives to France, allowing France to control the economies of those countries. Fast forward, in 2013, after 2011, Libya is destroyed, right? So you have the economic problem, you social problems that are internally the nomads versus the people, cultivator. Then you have the Tuareg question in northern Mali. That is one aspect. And because these are people on the move, it was sort of a cross problem. Those who are, your listeners who are Fulanis, know what I'm talking about in terms of cross-border migration or in search for grazing pasture. Now, that is one aspect of the Sahel problem. The second problem comes in with the Libyan question. Libya get destroyed, right? Muammar Gaddafi get killed, and the whole question of terrorism spring up in the Sahel region. Who was at the center of the destruction of Libya? NATO. Who was leading this campaign? France's Nicolas Sarkozy, a man whom Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi funded his political campaign in France, and that it has been revealed. Now, you have from that issue, terrorism, what we know today, spranging in the whole the Sahel region. You had Timbuktu destroyed. You have part of almost 80% of Mali being taken over by the terrorists. But then the very same France comes up with what they call the Operation Barkhane, which then gave France to send troops across the Sahel region under the pretext that they were going to save Mali from these terrorist attacks that were happening. You remember how our own former president here appealed for the protection of the Timbuktu because there were much investment that South Africa did to protect these ancient manuscript and the Asian knowledge in that part of the world. So France, being what it is, first have economic hold through the SAfm and the control of the natural resources in that country. Two, now to present the military control through the Operation Barkhane in 2013. After presenting that, it invites even more other people by creating the G5 Sahel region. So, in other words, getting these military officers, young military officers together and train them and so on. But what France forget is that their discontent within. In the case of Niger, for example, right? In the case of Niger, they built a military base in the north of the country, but at the same time, the British came in to intervene in what they call the Accra Initiative, which then talks about how they are going to solve the issue of terrorism in the Sahel and so on. The American comes in and builds the largest drone base in northern Mali. But along that, there are military officers, young military officers, who can see that things are not going for their own country, and there is a huge discomforted discontent yearning for those countries' sovereignty. This is why much of these coups had taken place. We're talking about over 6 coups in a period of 2 to 3 years, and both of which are in former French colonies. Is it about democracy? Yes, could be about democracy. People trying to find their self-determination, getting their freedom, economic or otherwise political freedom. Now, when you have those, despite attempts to political reform in the early 90s and clouded with this international geopolitical dynamics and intervention on the part of France, Britain, and the United States. This is why you see a lot happen in West Africa and the Sahel region, on a basis of what is this happening. But what is happening now?
So Nixon, what does that mean? Does that mean that even where there is stability, and one really uses the word loosely here because you almost have to be specific about what are you describing as stable and in which country are you seeing it as stable. But just broadly, then, does that mean that the idea of stability in the region is something that is for now still relatively far-fetched, that countries have found ways of existing in the instability rather than the region is stable?
Well, that will depend, and it is relative based on how the progression of these changes that we see through military coups are going to take a center stage and take a hold of a leadership that is responsive, that is galvanize the people and spur development among the people. I think that is the relativity terms that we are going to see here versus what we have seen being sung as democracy, as, for example, ECOWAS saying that we are going to intervene, and then the next they say, no, we need to chart transitions and so on. But, Cathy, the whole issues around geopolitical issues that happen in the region, to the second around the natural resources that has been controlled. One, I painted the picture just to to bring the event forward, how France tried to get hold of those countries economically, despite joining the European Union and the euro as a monetary zone, but also bringing in military to kind of dominate these countries militarily under the so-called pretext of fighting terrorism in the region, whereas that very same terrorism have been created by the gap that was made in Libya.
So democracy, we know, needs an entire ecosystem in order to be self-sustaining. So you need institutions that are going to protect it. You need organizations, you need civil society. And that is why, let's say in a country like South Africa, part of the reason why we're seen as a more stable democracy is because we have all of these institutions in our society that exist to safeguard this democracy. In the absence of that, do you believe that the project of democracy in the Western region has actually been given an opportunity to fully take shape and form?
I beg to disagree with you in a sense that if you send around the issues of democracy, you're missing the issue that I raised earlier of socio-economic justice, which then are anchored on the kind of leadership that are going to take hold in terms of how the democratic process are going to unfold and the building of the institutions in those countries. Now, if you look at these coups in West Africa, for example, they have about two characteristics that I observe. One, deeply anti-Western, and more particularly anti-French because of the economic suppression that the West, and particular France, has imposed on those countries. How does democracy take a hold in such a situation where people are yearning to enjoy the resources of their country, but someone else in France is holding 50% of their reserve? That is one question. Wherefore, it's in case of the Niger, which gives power to France, every 1 in 3 bulbs of France are lighted by uranium that come from Niger. And guess what? That uranium was being sold from Niger at 80%, at 80 cents, whereas the world market is at 200 euro per kilo. France is buying from Kazakhstan and many other, Canada and many other countries at 200 euros, but when to come Niger to pay 80 cents. Where is economic parity? Where is democracy in that? The second aspect I want to speak about is the issue of bringing in, now I'm speaking about what the characteristic of the coup in West Africa is, bringing in the idea of old nationalistic liberation movement sort of approach. If you look across in Guinea, for example, Sekou Toure, who brought the idea of that we are not going to be free until our economies and all that is benefit for the continent. He was killed by French. Modibo Keita in Mali, the same. In Thomas Sankara in Burkina Faso, the same. After kind of bringing much changes for the people of Burkina Faso. But does it surprise you that the likes
Nixon,
of the president of Burkina Faso went?
Let me go to news. We'll continue with Nixon in a moment after the break.
A very good morning to you. With the news headlines, Kemudupi Makhalemele. The Constitutional Court has confirmed the invalidity of a part of the Refugees Act as ordered by the Western Cape High Court in Cape Town. An initiate has been shot and killed at an initiation school in Walmer Township in Gqeberha in the early hours of today. And business rescue practitioners at the SA Post Office say their plan to retrench workers will not affect operations at the state-owned entity. Details of these and other stories coming up at midday.
Think big on the Insider SA this Monday evening at 6 as content creator Mohlahlana drops some pearls.
It's constantly about innovating yourself, upping your game.
Learn to spin with
T-Will Touch. I'm letting you come and spend a day and time with me. You already know I'm with the king of spins. Watch me do it.
And Vuyo Oyiya turns her duk into a work of art.
And look where we are today.
That's the Insider SA. This Monday at 6. Repeat Saturday at 1 p.m. and Sunday morning at 10:30 on S3.
Chelsea FC is not impressed with their current position. They want to ensure Sheffield United grabs nothing at Stamford Bridge.
Raheem Sterling, the Big Dipper, Chelsea 11.
Meanwhile, Sheffield United are also not comfortable in the danger zone.
McBurney's header! And it drops into the far corner of the net.
Who will enjoy the festive season with victory? The Blues or the Blades? This is the Premier League. Catch the exhilarating clash between Chelsea FC and Sheffield United FC on Saturday, 16 December at 4 p.m. live on S3. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag we love it here. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAfm.
All right, we continue the conversation on the talking point. We've been revisiting the coups that have taken place in West Africa and really asking a question about stability for the region. Then what does that look like? Nixon Katembo is our Africa Affairs analyst at Channel Africa. So, Nixon, time for us to start concluding this conversation we've been having. But your general sense then, given all of these factors that you've run us through, are we any closer to stability in the region post these coups than we were before?
Certainly, the stability will depend on how the power play in the region, but also at a geostrategic level and a geopolitical level comes into the entire leadership process within the region. One of the key that I have observed is that both military coups and leaders, both in Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, and Guinea, are trying to play both sides. You have Russia, the US, France, trying to gain control of the region. But at the same time, the military coups are trying to redefine their own sovereignty. in a sense that they go back to the old ideas. I said that these could have two characteristics, one of which being anti-Western, but also the other one bringing the old idea of liberation, of what the forefathers of independence in those countries fought for in the first place. So if that succeed, we're likely to see stability in the region, and we're likely to see more development springing up in the region. For example, Niger was sanctioned by Nigeria, which supply most of its electricity, about 70% of it. But what has been the response? These guys are going to build their own nuclear reactor to produce energy. And out of that, one hope that there will be investment in development, therefore creating employment for the people, and therefore looking at economics emancipation of that country without the interference of France or any other. Whether Russia comes in as well, because a lot of emphasis has been put on Russia, but if you look at it, there is an equilibrium at play here. On the other hand, France, America, they want a fair share of the cake. On the other hand, Russia is also playing its part. It's up to this leader to determine what serve for the interest, and more so the economic interests of those countries, and making sure that development comes first, the people are served, and the people's livelihood are well catered for in terms of socio-economic justice.
All right, Nixon Katembu will have to leave it there for today, and probably there for the year. Nixon Katembu is somebody you can expect to hear from on the Talking Point in the new year. Thanks, Nixon. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
All right. On that note, I think we're edging towards the end of our show. Before we take you to the book reading, we know that we kicked off the show with the news of Zahara's passing, which broke last night, and many South Africans still feeling the impact of the loss that, the impact of the loss, rather, that will have on the industry. Many people loved and enjoyed her music. Millions of South Africans, in fact, for that matter. You'd remember that hit song Loliwe. I understand it went platinum in 17 days. It won 8 summer awards. So this really was a young woman destined for the stars, passing away at the age of 35 in a hospital yesterday. So we'll leave you with some of the tributes. So many of you have been sending voice notes during the show. We'll leave you with some of the tributes for Zahara. On the other side of that is the book reading.
From home, when I was discovered to come to Joburg, and then, but when I came, I remember I came with my tracksuit pants and my Popeye t-shirt written spinach, because tertiary they used to call me spinach, with my guitar, which, only my guitar and the small bag and my ulsters. And when I came, it wasn't about me. I wasn't thinking TV. I wasn't thinking the radios or even the album. I was thinking, finally, people are going to hear my voice. People, they're going to hear my story. They can hear how I've been living. Maybe I will be helping someone else. Maybe so when I came, I used to go with Mrs. Ladangiza, so concert and everything. So I learned a lot from them, from her specifically. And when I came, and I was this girl, obviously from the village, spotlights, so I remember when when I went and I played TV, hey, they said we want more. I'm like, I can look and get record. We want more. Stage. After some people saw me, we opening Kashante more. 2010, and I haven't recorded nothing, haven't done nothing, but they just heard my voice. And I remember that day when I went there, I was like, I can go to That's how nervous I was, because now I'll be singing for people. Now it's about time a story to be told and to tell my story.
SAfm 104 to 107 nationwide, leading the conversation.
Get ready for an adventure of a lifetime with SABC TV Licenses Ultimate Competition. Feel the pulse-pounding excitement of a Bundesliga match live on an all-expenses-paid journey you'll never forget. Or embrace the rhythm of your dreams at the Coachella Music Festival. The choice is yours. A football fan's paradise or a music lover's haven. Simply pay your TV license, then head to www.winnerholidaywithsabctvlicenses.co.za for a chance to win big. And don't forget, there are incredible weekly prizes up for grabs too. TV licenses. Pay yours. Make a difference.
The 22-man battle at Borussia Park is high-level evidence of how powerful 3 points is. Borussia Mönchengladbach and SV Werder Bremen are both in dire need of victory to create a crucial path to the top half of the German elite league. Who will dominate the 90 minutes, the Foles or the River Islanders? This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Witness the nail-biting clash between Borussia Mönchengladbach and SV Werder Bremen on Friday, 15 December at 9:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the
book reading. Please note the views expressed in this book are not that of the station. Listeners' discretion is advised. SAfm presents another episode of Simply Larry, read by Simpiwe Nkosi, written by Elias Masilela.
Gifting with a gift. At the time of writing, the St. Michael's alumni, under the chairperson of able Dr. Dudu Mamba, were busy preparing for the school's centenary celebration. As part of this exercise, they were also knuckling down to write a historical account of the school, which benefited this chapter greatly. As part of these preparations, it was revealed that the farm on which the school and MITC stand, all the way to where Bambisanani Bomage, a women development project, was donated to the Anglicans by a grandfather to a St. Michael's old girl, Daphne Badeli Gininza Nee Miles. Mr. Miles, known to the Swazi community as Miaize, was of British origin. He had settled in Bremerstorp, today's Manzini, long before the school was established. Like many European settlers in the kingdom who slept with their house servants, Mr. Miles had many children from different Swazi women. All his children were firstborns from their respective mothers, Daphne emphasizes. Daphne ended up being head girl in 1973, though not because of her grandfather. She is a born leader with a large yet humble personality. I met her together with Dudu Mamba and Lobusugu Masugu in Manzini on 20 May 2018. It was a meeting that should have lasted an hour, but 3 hours later we were still talking. Today, she is one of the capable female farmers in Swaziland, operating in the northeastern part of the country, a trickle-down effect from her grandfather. That weekend, she came into the city solely to meet with me. She revealed the whole intent of the donation was to educate Bantwana Bebelumbi, children of the European settlers, which St. Michael's was set up for. For many years, it provided education solely for colored children, adorably known as Emakhalatsi or Bomshana, nephew or niece in Siswati. Unlike in many parts of the world, the title colored was not seen as offensive in Swaziland. It was not until Swaziland's independence from Britain that the doors of the school were fully opened to native children. With Bantu education and heightening political uprisings in South Africa, the school even started accepting South African children. Many political, business and academic leaders in South Africa today studied or were influenced by the school. It is reported that His Majesty King Sobhuza II was the visionary behind all this, and the school kept its very close relationship with the church. There is a little twist to this beautiful tale. It turns out that Daphne was not born Miles, but Dlamini. She does not have colored features. In order to get herself into her grandfather's dream school, she had to change her name and grow up being known as Daphne Badeli Miles. It was only much later in life that she reassumed her real surname. Unintentionally, Daphne also revealed another very interesting aspect about her grandfather, his true identity. In passing, she said her mother would always say, "Phela mina ngil Irish." You should know that I am Irish, which raised a doubt as to whether her grandfather was really English. When I picked up on this point and asked her to explain what this meant, her response was that of someone being caught unaware. I never ever thought about it that way. This takes the story of Larry and Sister J.E. full circle. Here we witness a virtuous circle of life being painted. The Miles family gave. The Anglicans took the gift and gave back to Swazi girls. The Miles family took back and enjoyed one of the finest education deliveries in the kingdom. The school and the MITC continue to give to the world. Many, many families have benefited from this circle and continue to do so to this very day. Many, many girls, including boys, have had their lives changed forever. Part of this is that the primary school is mixed, boys and girls. As they say, in every human story, there is a personal claim, no matter how remote. I was proud to learn that this is the same Miles family we grew up with, on the same street in Trelawney Park. It is humbling. One feels part of this history of giving and the extension of this virtuous circle of life, as told in the now famous Lion King by Lebu M. Lives lived in parallel. Larry spoke fondly of Sister J.E. to his own family. This was revealed in correspondence with Larry's cousin, Pat Boyle, when she said, "I can fully understand why you would like a chapter on Sister Judith Ellen, or Sister J.E., as you refer to her in the chapter about Prince Edward. I remember many years ago, Larry talking about her, one time when he was home. I think he said she was a Church of England nun that he had got to know in Manzini. I remember vividly he had great admiration for her. As you say, I'm sure she deserves much attention in the book." Sister J.E. and Larry shared a lot in common, as illustrated by the numerous experiences shared by both girls and boys in this chapter and across the book. When that mischievous question was asked of Father Larry by one Salesian boy, "What is it between you and Sister J.E.?" I had no clue about the answer until this interview with the St. Michael's Old Girls. Now I know. It is what was common between the two of them: worldly, conscious of the material needs of people around them, love for their boys and girls, openness about matters of life. Not even their key difference could drive a wedge between them and their purposes in life: serving. We have already established that Larry loathes authority and shows little respect for the monarchy. Despite this, he always found it right to work with Sister J.E. on projects related to these learning institutions. Like Larry, she never planned to be one of the cloth, but ended up a trailblazer in the cause. Both were amazing fundraisers. They could raise money for literally anything. It is astonishing that the two schools today struggle to even raise money to build a single classroom or sponsor a child. They both had no patience to carry along the people they worked with in the delivery of their projects. It is the convergence of these characteristics that made them the effective partnership and inspirational team they were. Chapter 18. Tarring of the School Grounds. Fundraising has always preoccupied the Salesians in Manzini, dating back to the founders. The struggle continues to this very day. But for me, Larry displayed outstanding genius in this regard. It may be because he is the only one I could directly observe. I was too young to have observed Ntungwana or Matitila in the early years. Larry has been very innovative and can be described as a master tactician. After my high school years, I had the fortune to work closely with him to raise funds for many works, such as the Bosco Skills Center and Manzini Industrial and Technology Center, MITC. But what stands out for me was his genius in funding the tarring of the road leading from the main gate and the main grounds in front of the West Side buildings. This spurred the local authority, at that time the Manzini Town Management Board, now the Manzini City Council, to tar the rest of the road from St. Teresa's and all the way around to the local abattoir. When prompted to talk about this project, he marveled. I remember that, raising the money. At the very beginning, when I came here, we had this all as sand. I remember getting a surface put down, which was a very cheap, rough thing. It cost something like 3,000 rands to do the whole lot. That began to fall apart, and then there was a fundraising effort. That was my second effort. In this second attempt, which delivered an amazing result, he marshaled the whole school and community to enter a Coca-Cola 1 million rand competition. The competition called for the collection of inners of Coca-Cola bottle tops. These were to be used to complete a word game puzzle, which told the history of Swaziland. The inners were to be glued onto A3 size boards. The rules were simple. Whoever completed the highest number of boards would get the prize. This was a brilliant way for the company to enhance its sales. I have no doubt that their sales must have spiked in that year. The machinery, under the capable leadership of Larry, was set into motion. It was a frenzy, both in the school and outside. It was impressive seeing parents getting involved in collecting both bottle tops and boards for their children. The dining hall was converted into a makeshift workshop with an intricate production line and a temporary warehouse. Impressive piles of boards were accumulated in no time. Larry continues his energetic narration. When the chap who was monitoring the competition came to do the inspection, he wanted to know where we have these boards. He was taken upstairs. When he got there and saw the massive bin in which the boards were stored, he said, "Oh my God, what is this?" We were way ahead of everybody.